Hey, everyone. Uh, I need you to think about someone specific right now. Someone whose behavior completely shifted the moment you stopped giving them your constant attention. You know exactly who I'm talking about. That person who had unlimited access to you, your time, your energy, your focus, and then you pulled back. You created space. You stopped being so available. And suddenly everything changed. Welcome back. It's Anna. And today I want to talk about something that's happening in real time for a lot of people because you stopped giving them the attention they were used to receiving. They're currently responding in ways that might surprise you, ways that reveal exactly what your attention meant to them and what they're willing to do now that it's gone. Let me start by talking about what withdrawing attention actually looks like. You may have recently made a conscious decision to pull back from someone, to stop reaching out first, to stop being the one who always initiates, to stop making yourself constantly available for someone who was never available for you in return. Some people experience this as a necessary boundary. They've been giving and giving and giving to someone who only takes, and they've finally recognized that the dynamic is unsustainable. That continuing to pour into someone who doesn't reciprocate is actually self-abandonment. It might feel like you're going through your days now and you're just not thinking about them as much, not checking your phone, hoping they reached out, not crafting messages you're too afraid to send, not organizing your life around their availability. Let's pause for a moment because this shift is significant. This reflection invites you to consider, when did you decide to stop giving someone your attention so freely? You may have reached a breaking point, a moment where something in you just said enough, where you realized that waiting for someone to value you the way you value them was actually making you smaller, dimmer, less yourself. It's possible you didn't announce this decision. You didn't tell them, I'm withdrawing my attention. You just stopped quietly without drama. You just started prioritizing yourself instead of them. And they noticed. They definitely noticed. This reflection invites you to consider, how did this person respond when you stopped giving them attention? Let me talk about what's currently happening with the person you withdrew from. It's possible they're experiencing discomfort right now, real discomfort. Not because they love you or miss you necessarily, but because they're used to having access to you. They're used to your attention being a given, a constant, something they could count on without having to earn it. Some people don't value attention when they have it. They take it for granted. They assume it will always be there. And then when it's gone, when they suddenly don't have that steady stream of your energy, they panic. You may be witnessing this panic right now. Maybe they're reaching out more than they used to. Maybe they're suddenly interested in your life. Maybe they're making efforts they never made before. Maybe they're confused about why you're different. It can feel like watching someone scramble, like they're trying to figure out what changed and how to get back to the dynamic where you were always available and they never had to try. This reflection invites you to consider, is someone currently trying harder to get your attention since you stopped giving it so freely? There's something important about their motivation that needs to be examined. It's possible they're reaching out more not because they genuinely value you, but because they want to restore the dynamic where they had power, where they controlled the terms of engagement, where you were the one pursuing and they were the one being pursued. Some people are very invested in maintaining certain roles in relationships. They need to be the one who's desired, the one who's chased, the one who gets to decide when and how connection happens. And when you stop playing your assigned role, it threatens their entire sense of control. You may be seeing this play out in real time. This person might be doing things they never did before, being more attentive, more complimentary, more available, and it might feel validating at first, like finally they see my worth. But here's what you need to understand. This increased attention might not be about you. It might be about them needing to reestablish their position, about them needing to confirm they still have power over you. This reflection invites you to consider, is this person's increased effort genuine, or is it about regaining control? Let me talk about what you might be experiencing internally right now. It's possible you're torn. Part of you feels vindicated, like, see, I knew if I pulled back they'd notice. Part of you feels tempted, like maybe now things can be different. Part of you feels cautious, like I don't trust this sudden change. Some people experience this as an internal war. The part that wants to be valued, fighting with the part that knows better. The hope that this time will be different, fighting with the wisdom that patterns repeat unless something fundamentally changes. You may be wondering if you should give them another chance, if their current efforts mean they've realized your worth, if the withdrawal of your attention taught them the lesson you hoped it would teach. And that's the critical question. Has anything actually changed? Or are they just reacting to the loss of your attention in ways designed to get it back? This reflection invites you to consider, what would genuine change look like versus temporary behavior modification? There's something about the title that I need to address directly. It says, they're going to stop you from something, but I can't predict the future. I don't know what someone will or won't do. What I can talk about is what sometimes happens in dynamics like this. When someone loses access to attention they were used to having, they sometimes try to interfere with the person's growth or progress. Not always consciously, but there's a pattern. It's possible someone might currently be trying to keep you engaged in ways that prevent you from moving forward, creating drama that pulls you back in, making demands on your time, presenting crises that require your attention, finding ways to stay relevant in your life even though you're trying to create distance. Some people can't handle being deprioritized. It threatens their ego, their sense of importance, their control. So they find ways to reassert themselves, to make sure you can't fully detach, to keep you connected even if the connection is unhealthy. You may be experiencing some of this right now. Manufactured urgency, sudden problems only you can help with, provocative messages designed to get a response, behavior that's specifically calculated to pull you back into engagement. This reflection invites you to consider, is someone currently creating situations that require your attention after you withdrew it? Let me talk about what you actually need to do in this situation. It's possible you need to maintain your boundary, not waver just because they're suddenly paying attention, not soften just because they're making effort, not give back the access you took away just because they're uncomfortable without it. Some people test you when you set boundaries. They push to see if you really mean it. They escalate to see if you'll cave. They create situations that make maintaining the boundary uncomfortable so you'll drop it. You may be in that testing phase right now, where this person is doing everything they can to pull you back into the old dynamic, and you have to decide, are you serious about your boundary, or was it just a threat? Because if you give in now, if you restore their access after they do the bare minimum, is less than #0. 5 hash is greater than you've taught them that your boundaries aren't real, that if they just persist or escalate or perform temporarily, they can get what they want. This reflection invites you to consider, what do you need to see from this person before you'd consider giving them your attention again? And I mean real change, sustained change, not temporary performance, not crisis-driven effort, but genuine fundamental shift in how they show up. There's something about your own growth that's important here. It's possible the reason you withdrew attention is because you're finally growing into someone who values themselves, who recognizes their worth, who understands that attention is a gift, not a given, who refuses to invest in people who don't invest back. Some people experience this growth as uncomfortable because it changes everything. It changes how they relate to others. It changes what they're willing to accept. It changes their entire relationship landscape. You may be in the middle of that uncomfortable growth right now, watching old dynamics fall apart because you're no longer willing to sustain them. Losing people who were only there because you made it easy for them to be there. And that's painful. But it's also necessary. This reflection invites you to consider, how has withdrawing your attention from this person changed how you see yourself? Let me slow down and talk about something that might be hard to hear. Not everyone deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your energy. And continuing to give these things to people who don't value them is less than #0. 5 hash is greater than who don't reciprocate them, who take them for granted. That's not kindness. That's self-betrayal. Some people spend years giving attention to people who don't deserve it, hoping that if they just give enough, eventually they'll be valued. Eventually they'll be appreciated. Eventually the person will see their worth. But that's not how it works. You can't attention your way into being valued. Either someone values you or they don't. And if they only value you when they're about to lose access to you, that's not real value. That's fear of loss. You may need to get really honest about whether this person actually values you or whether they just value having access to you. This reflection invites you to consider, what's the difference between someone valuing you and someone valuing what you provide? There's something about your future interactions with this person that matters. It's possible every time you engage now, you need to be doing it consciously, from choice, not from habit, not from guilt, not from hope that this time will be different, but from a genuine decision that this interaction serves you. Some people fall back into old patterns because it's comfortable, because it's familiar, because saying no to someone who's asking for your attention feels mean or cold or unkind. But you're not being mean by protecting your peace. You're not being cold by having standards. You're not being unkind by requiring reciprocity in your relationships. You may need to practice saying no, practice not responding, practice letting someone be uncomfortable with your distance without trying to fix their discomfort. This reflection invites you to consider, what would it feel like to permanently maintain the distance you've created? You remain in complete control here. You can give your attention back. You can restore access. You can soften your boundary if you choose to, or you can maintain it. You can protect your energy. You can continue prioritizing yourself and your growth over someone else's comfort. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice that reading this has clarified something, maybe why you needed to withdraw, maybe what this person's current behavior actually means, maybe what you need to do to protect yourself going forward. Whatever it is, trust it, use it, let it guide you. Take what resonates, discard what doesn't, trust what you know about this situation. Before we close, I want to ask you something directly. What happened when you stopped giving someone your attention? How did they respond? And what did that response reveal about what your attention actually meant to them? Drop it in the comments if you feel ready to share. And what are you learning about yourself through the process of withdrawing your attention from someone who took it for granted? What would change if you fully trusted that your attention is valuable and shouldn't be given to people who don't value it? Because you stopped giving them the attention, they're responding in ways that reveal who they actually are, not who you hoped they were, who they actually are. And that information, that's valuable. That's the truth you needed to see. They're going to stop you from moving forward in 2026. I can't predict that. But what I can say is that some people will try to keep you stuck because your growth threatens them. Your independence makes them uncomfortable. Your boundaries challenge their access. And you get to decide, do you let them? Or do you protect what you've built by maintaining the distance that's serving you? Not eventually, right now, today. In every choice you make about who gets your attention and who doesn't, trust yourself with this. Trust that withdrawing attention from people who don't value it is self-respect. Trust that their discomfort with your boundary is not your problem to solve. Trust that you're allowed to be selective about who gets access to you. You don't need to justify your boundary. You don't need to explain yourself. You just need to hold it. I'll see you in the next one. And listen, your attention is currency. Spend it wisely. Give it to people who value it. And withdraw it from people who take it for granted. You're worth more than being someone's option when they're bored.